When people vote in free elections, and no one can deny that Israeli elections are really free, you don't really know why they voted this way or that. In Israel's absolute proportional representation system, there is perhaps more chance of understanding certain national trends. 50,000 is the number of votes estimated to get a party past the 2% threshold of the popular vote in order to win a seat in the Knesset. When 50,000 people vote for a single-issue party, say religious orthodoxy, hardline nationalism, peace at all costs, or to enhance the status of Bedouin or pensioners, then you are certainly able to know what bugs them and why they voted in that particular way. Discerning voting intentions becomes more problematic when it comes to the big parties. The upcoming election will be fought out by three main blocks: Likud on the right, Kadima in the centre, and Labour on the left, all vying for preeminence so that they'll be able to form a coalition with one or the other, or perhaps that one of the three big parties may be able to form a government on its own with the help only of smaller parties. When Amir Peretz, the trade union boss, was chosen to head the Labour Party, the central focus of what this election would be about seemed ready to shift, from traditional concerns with security and peace to focus on social conditions and the economy. But Ariel Sharon had just led Israelis out of Gaza, and now the future of the West Bank is very much on the agenda. What's more, with Hamas having come out on top in the Palestinian elections last month, there was simply no way that issue of security and how to bring at least quiet to Israel's relations with the Palestinians would not again be centre stage. The social agenda does still hover, but there have been two interesting developments in this election campaign which appear already to mark it out. First, the place of that bugbear issue of corruption in high places. For its first 30 years, Israel was ruled by the labor movement. In 1977, when the great turnabout happened and the country's political firmament became a Likud right-dominated affair, the slogan which really ousted labor was, "We're fed up with your corruption." Labour began this campaign trying to hoist both the Likud, but especially the new Kadima party, on precisely that, the corruption issue. It's largely backed off. When voters were asked in a recent poll what issue would most influence the way they vote, a third replied political security questions. Another 27% said social economic questions. Education came in third with 16%, and what was labelled corruption and integrity was down in fourth place with only 10% of voters saying this was their top priority. Pollsters had an interesting explanation. It's not that people think that politicians are all squeaky clean, they say, but apparently when it comes down to the integrity of the parties they're being asked to vote for, the voting public actually believes that the political stables are in the process of being cleaned. As veteran columnist Joel Marcus put it, at least Israel never was and never will be a banana republic. Something else is, however, changing very much. What Ariel Sharon did after Gaza in reshuffling the political map by leaving the Likud and creating Kadima in the centre was nothing short of a big bang in politics. You could even say it's as far-reaching as the revolution which Sharon too had caused back in the 1970s, when he first forged the Likud and began to offer Israeli voters a real choice between left and right in their politics. But now, in one critical respect, Israeli politics has begun to leave Ariel Sharon behind. There's a new reinvigorated politics in place, a system which seems to throw off much of the ideological chains of the past. Artificial divisions are replacing hollow slogans with something we may call straightforwardness and lack of ambiguity. Following the dramatic withdrawal from Gaza, Ariel Sharon wrapped himself in a cocoon of ambiguity about just how far he intended to make that unilateral pullout a model for fixing Israel's permanent borders in the West Bank as well. Fixing permanent borders is indeed the election promise of his successor Ehud Olmert, but Olmert is showing nothing of the Sharon reticence. This week, the acting Prime Minister publicly unveiled his application of a two-pronged Sharon model, pull-out and unilateralism, and applying it to the West Bank as well. Olmert has truly laid his cards on the table. He intends to stitch a new seam to separate Israelis from most Palestinians, and in the process of weaving this new border, to relocate at least a quarter, that's 60,000 people, from among the 250,000 Israeli settlers in the West Bank. It seems to be a winning approach because it's much less ambiguous than the base position of Peretz's Labour, which is committed to securing a quick negotiated settlement with the Palestinians, or that of Bibi Netanyahu on the right, where the broad Likud stand is covered by its slogan, firm against Hamas. Ami Ayalon is the former head of the Israeli Navy and also chief of the Shin Bet security services. Ayalon, a Labour candidate and one of the most adventurous new spirits to freshen up the political landscape, put things cogently in a weekend interview. For decades, said Ayalon, we've believed that lack of clarity helps us resolve problems. We thought that ambiguity was creative, but in the Middle East, ambiguity is not creative. That was the mistake of the Oslo peace process. That was also the mistake of the man who led Israel for the past 5 years. We must understand that ambiguity begets violence. Violence from without, but also violence from within Israel. And, concludes Ayalon, we have to dispel the fog, get rid of the fog. We must tell the truth to ourselves, even if the truth is painful. With thinking like that to the fore in this election campaign and likely to continue its influence, the outcome of the campaign, and with the issue of corruption well to the fore, Israel can well say to itself, as E.M. Forster, the popular novelist, was wont to say, 2 cheers for democracy. With such lively and talkative a political system, Israel seems entitled even to claim 2.5 or maybe 2.25 cheers for its democracy.